Good morning. Thank you for joining us once again for another WorkSource Spokane SCC kind of podcast thing that we have going on here on these mornings. My name is Tyler Wright. I'm the Digital Skills Instructor here at WorkSource Spokane. Once again, I'm being joined by Dr. Brandi Maynard. I don't usually use your doctor title too much, but Brandi is one of our workshop instructors here at WorkSource Spokane, and this morning we're going to be talking about time management. Now, Brandi, as we saw on our very intro slide there, we were referencing a book about eating the frog. And as a Spokane resident, I don't usually have too much experience with frogs. We get more marmots than frogs up here. What can you tell us about this concept of eating the frog?
Well, this is something that Brian Tracy brought forward in his book, Eat the Frog, and he's talking about that big, hairy, audacious goal that really is not your favorite thing to do in the morning. And for me, I remember when I was getting my dissertation done, that was the thing that was really difficult for me. It was something that I didn't want to do. And so you have to make sure, for me, I had to make sure that I had my butt in the seat first thing every morning and I was writing. And so what is that one task that you have to do that maybe you don't want to do that's going to move things forward for you? And that's your frog.
Gotcha. Now, for me, first thing in the morning is usually waking up to a 20-pound cat on my chest asking for food. So for me, eating the frog is, well, feeding the cats. And of course, if I'm downstairs feeding the cats, I'm usually going to be, cleaning up the potty pads, cleaning up the litter box. Now, when we're looking at what that frog might be, as we live our adult lives, there are lots of different unpleasant things that we have to do as adults. Now, with so many different unpleasant things or just unfun things that we have to do every day as adults, how do we determine what frog to tackle first?
Yeah, it's that prioritization, and as adults, it's part of Adulting 101. It's that thing that's most important to you at that moment, and it's also the thing that's one of those big rocks that you have to make sure. I don't know if you've heard it before, but the story about the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand. And so we have to put the big rocks in our jar first if we need to fill it up, and then we put the pebbles in, and the pebbles kind of fill around the big rocks. So those are the next important things. And then the third most important thing is that sand, and you can pour that in. Those are all the little things that you have to do, but you've got to do those big rocks first. And those are your frogs. And the ones that are most unpleasant are the ones that you need to do first.
Yeah. Now, going back to what I do every morning is, of course, we're changing out the litter box, we're cleaning up everything in the kitchen, getting ready to feed the cats in the morning. Now, while I'm in the kitchen preparing the cat food, I'm also standing right next to the dishwasher, which needs to be unloaded, of course. So now there's my next frog that I have to tackle. I got to unload the dishwasher, but if I'm also unloading the dishwasher, since I'm already in the kitchen, I might as well wipe down the counters and put the dishes away and reload the dishwasher. We can use these frogs to almost leapfrog into other tasks that we have to tackle anyway.
That's right.
Could we fit that into this time management model?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something we're going to be talking about in a future podcast. It's called habit stacking.
Ooh.
And it's how you put those habits together to make sure that you're more productive in managing your time.
Sounds like a good idea. Now, Brandi, I want to ask you a little bit more about how we manage to focus on that frog. And I'm going to keep using myself as a personal example because I am a lazy person at heart, especially at 5:30 in the morning when there is a cat meowing on my chest. And sometimes I'm sitting there or laying there and I'm trying to figure out, why am I feeding this animal again? How do we determine what our focus is? How do we motivate ourselves to eat that frog?
Yeah, it's really finding out what your why is and really getting behind that. And so making that why sticky for you and figuring out what's in it for me. And so why that's important. And what's in it for you. You love your cats more than life itself.
Usually.
And so that's your why. That's what gets you up in the morning and gets you going. So it's figuring out what that why is.
You mentioned a phrase there that I remember from my old sales days. What's in it for me? And we always called it the whiff 'em. Yeah, hit 'em with a whiff 'em. What's in it for me? So we really want to kind of focus on not just the frog itself and the task that we have to tackle, but also why are we doing that task? What is motivating us to actually complete that task?
And it's got to have intrinsic motivation, not just extrinsic motivation. So what's in it internally for you that makes you want to do it?
I feed the cat because I don't want him to yell at me every morning.
Exactly.
Or I feed the cat because I actually want him to live because he's my emotional support animal. There's my why.
Yep.
Now, as we've talked about this frog analogy, this ambiguous term for a unpleasant task we have to tackle. Even if I know that this task needs to be done, even if I know that I hate doing this task, even if I know why I need to do this task, there are still going to be days where I just don't want to do it. How do we kind of help ourselves become disciplined in these kinds of habits?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier habit stacking. And so maybe with putting my butt in the chair and writing that dissertation, I might have a latte that has to do along with it. So go up, I make the coffee, I pour the syrup in it. I know that I'm going to have a nice relaxing time as I sit down and sip my coffee. So that's habit stacking. If you have a habit that you're already doing, stack that habit with something that's unpleasant with something that's pleasant, and then you have a good mix between the two, and then it gives you more of a what's in it for me.
I like how you mentioned the latte there, because caffeine and coffee is a very important thing for me too. And to your point, while I'm feeding the cats, what am I also doing? I'm also filling up the coffee pot, grinding the beans, all those other things. So I think if a lot of us really look at our own personal lives, we may be doing a lot of this stuff already, just unconsciously, but making that conscious effort to add more or add that unpleasant task in can help develop that discipline.
Exactly.
Now, here as we go through these next few slides, we're going to be talking about hacking. And as a digital instructor, I get a lot of questions about hacking. We're not talking about that kind of hacking. We're on two different wavelengths here. So we're going to be talking about some life hacks, I believe. What would be your first hack, if you will, when it comes to time management?
Yeah, I have a hack for the job seeker. So if you're a job seeker looking for a job search, it's creating that consistent schedule. So making sure that you have your goals lined out and you have a very consistent schedule of when you're going to do your networking, when you're going to work on your resumes, when you're going to work on your cover letters, and then allocating those time blocks. So putting those time blocks into your calendar where you actually say for this period of time, like we talked about with the Pomodoro technique, we're setting aside 25 minutes where we're going to be networking or we're going to be working on our LinkedIn, and then we're going to take a break. So it's making sure that we're disciplined and making sure that we're consistent with our scheduling.
And we can also habit stack that as well. So I might do my one Pomodoro on networking and then go get myself a soda or another cup of coffee. Do another Pomodoro on writing my resume or whatever that might be. These might be unpleasant tasks because, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I really don't want to have to rewrite my resume over and over again. But by really kind of planning it out and giving myself those time blocks, it makes it just that much easier on me.
That's right. And we know that in order to get the job, we have to rewrite our resume in order to focus it on that specific job. We have to rewrite that cover letter for every specific posting. And that's how we're going to get the job. It's not spraying and praying to all the boards. It's being very specific on what we're doing and spending the time on the resume and the cover letter. So if that's our important WIFM and the what's in it for me, and that's one of those big rocks, we make sure that we spend time on it.
Absolutely. Might not be fun, but we got to get it done. So with life hack number 2, we've talked about the Pomodoro technique. How can we use that Pomodoro technique to kind of tame the time monster? Because time is an enemy of us all.
And we only have so much of it in a day. And so it's really making sure that we set aside the time that we want inside of our time blocks. So inside of our calendar, creating those blocks of time that we know that we're going to work, and then breaking them into those 25-minute chunks with the 5-minute blocks in between. And then every 4 Pomodoros, we get a longer break that we can take for ourselves to make sure that we're taking those short breaks, we're sharpening the saw, and then taking the longer breaks when we need them.
And that is essentially what's going to slay the time monster.
That's right.
So here we are, we're looking at life hack number 3, and this seems very simple. Say no. And I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, if we don't say no, we're saying yes. So we need to make sure that we're saying no to the things that we don't want to be doing and saying yes to the things that we do. Because every time that we say yes, we have to say no to some other things. So we have to make sure, again, those big rocks are the things that we're saying yes to, and the small little pieces of sand are things that we're pushing off and saying no to.
And I'd like to throw in a caveat there. Just because I say no now doesn't mean I'm going to say no later. Part of that time management is also knowing how much energy and time I personally have. I get a lot of requests for a lot of different things around here, and there may be times where I say no right now simply because I'm in the middle of a Pomodoro, or I'm in the middle of a task, or I'm eating a frog already. But just because I'm saying no today doesn't mean I'm going to say no tomorrow.
That's right. And you're not just managing your time, you're managing what you mentioned, your time, you're managing your energy, and you're managing your priorities. So I don't even like to call it time management as much as I like to call it priority management.
Energy management is all the thing for me.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Now here with life hack number 4, we see batch and blitz. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we want to batch those like tasks together, and then we want to just go for it. And so you're putting those like tasks together. So if it's your job applications, everything around your job application gets put together. Everything around networking gets put together. Everything around cover letters gets put together. And then the blitz is making sure that it happens.
Okay. And again, this might be something that a lot of us already do unconsciously. I know that I'm going to be vacuuming the floor, so I'm going to naturally pick up everything off the floor before I vacuum. I'm putting those tasks together. I know that I have to change the cat litter, so I'm naturally going to take out the rest of the trash while I'm at it, or whatever that might look like. Now, when we look at this from the job seeking perspective, would we want to break it up by focusing on like cover letters right now in this Pomodoro and resumes in the next Pomodoro? Or could we break it up differently? Maybe I focus on this particular job posting right now and this other job posting next. I think as individuals, we can all kind of determine which groups of tasks we want to group together based on our own personal preferences. Would that be outside the realm of possibility?
You can do it by your personal preferences, but what research shows is that if you focus on one specific task, like writing letters, keeping your brain within that realm of writing letters, it's much easier than that brain switch that you're going to have to come back and think, okay, I'm writing letters, but now I have to go into this resume and summarizing things. Your brain's doing 2 different tasks. So you do want to keep it on that one task that you're working on.
So it's also about the physicality of it. If I'm going to be writing a resume, the physical act of writing or typing as we are nowadays, I want to continue with that same typing because it's a similar task. Got it.
And if you want to go in, like let's say one of your Pomodoros is checking for grammar and spelling, you may be checking grammar and spelling on your cover letter and on your resume, but it's one idea.
Gotcha. So here we are with our 5th and final hack for this morning, and we're talking about leveraging community. What does that mean in the realm of job seeking?
We can't do this without our community. We have to have people wrapping their arms around us. And maybe we don't have physical family members or friends. A lot of us do, but some of us may not. And so that community might look like something that you find on social media, a specific group that you're part of on social media, maybe inside of LinkedIn or inside of Facebook. It also might be coming to WorkSource and being part of our job club on Fridays, because these are people that come together and they're people that are all on the same page and in the same boat. They're looking for jobs and wanting to talk about what it means to be unemployed and how you can move forward in your life.
I like that idea of we're all going through this same thing together, so let's share ideas or even just kind of borrow energy off of each other, motivate each other. Hey, did you get your Pomodoro done? You could even extend this as far as coordinating schedules and tasks. We know we have to do these. We have to eat this frog. Let's eat the frog together.
Exactly. And one thing that I've thought about too, and I've seen it done a little bit in the past with leaders in a company, but you could definitely do it with job seekers as well, where if you had a small group of people that you were working together with, you could do something that's out of Harvard called problem of practice, where you bring a problem forward to the group and the group helps you in a fishbowl style to solve that problem. So everyone on a different day or even on the same day can bring problems forward to the group, and then you can do some group think and decide how you want to solve that problem, and then you can go out with some tools that you didn't have when you went in.
I like that idea as well. I call it bouncing an idea off somebody else's brain.
Yes.
And there will be many times where I'll come out and be like, I just need a couple brains to look at this with me, or whatever that might be.
Yeah, my
leverage that community.
Dear friend and I call it brain festing, and we get together and it's just knowing like we're not going to interfere with each other's intellectual property. We're going to be there just to wrap our arms around one another and help one another and just feed each other's souls and our intellect.
Yeah. Well, in the interest of time management, we're going to wrap this up. That's all the time we have. I'm going to keep throwing out all these time words. I don't know if it's working for you. That's all the time we have here for today. Now, if you have time and you have other questions that you have for either myself or Brandi or any of us here at WorkSource, Brandi's email address is right here on the screen. I encourage you to reach out to her, shoot her an email, even if you just want to give us some encouragement, as we are a community here at WorkSource. That is always fine as well. And as with always, we'll see you in the next video.